Hello and welcome to today's video. I am going to talk about 5 of my favourite cozy sweater and jumper patterns. What I thought I would do today is something a little bit different. I thought I would share my top 5 cozy jumper patterns with you whilst I sew a sweater at the same time. That's because we are about to set off on a little family adventure and I want a cozy sweater to wear. Now I've got quite a few cropped sweaters and jumpers in my collection, but I would like one that's just a slightly longer length. And I thought I would go with the Jarrah sweater. So this is number 1 on my list. Now I've not actually sewn this one yet, so come along on the journey today as I sew the sweater, but it is similar to a couple of other sweaters I have sewn up. So that is why I'm putting on my list of top 5 patterns for the autumn and winter. Now I'm sure you've seen this pattern before. It's quite a popular one in the sewing community. It's not one that I've sewn yet, but it has been on my list for a very long time. Now it does come as just a simple, slightly oversized drop shoulder sweater with the traditional neckband, cuffs, and waistband. It does also come with a really nice tie waist option, which is slightly more cropped, which I really like as well, and then a funnel neck sweater, and the one I'm going to make, which has a curved hem, which is slightly lower. Now I'm going to make it slightly lower again. I have extended it by 1 inch, so come along and see if that works. Now the sleeves on the view that I'm making actually are open at the bottom, which is a lovely feature. They've got sort of a placket and then they stay open at the bottom, but I really want cozy sleeves. So I'm going to make the sleeves for view A, which have the traditional cuff at the bottom of them. And I have lengthened that by 1 inch because I just really like sleeves that are cozy and long and that you can pull over your hands and just snuggle up in. So I've extended the sleeves by 1 inch. I extended the body by 1 inch because I really want that to just cover my tummy and cover my bottom and keep me nice and cozy. So I do love that Nielsen patterns come with all of these different options. I have sewn her patterns before and I love the fit of them. I have a 35-inch bust, a 30 or 29-inch depending on the day, and a 40 to 41-inch hip. And so I do fit over a few sizes in Nielsen patterns. I fit into the size 8 over the bust, 10 at the waist, and 12 at the hip. But for this one, because there is a lot of ease in it, I have actually sized down to a size 6. Now that is the correct size for a 35-inch bust, but obviously it's slightly bigger on the waist and hip. But in terms of finish measurements, it gives 43¼ inches as the finish measurement for the bust, waist, and hip. So I think there's plenty of room in there, even for my 40-inch hip. And Nielsen patterns have 2 size bands. There's the Jarrah sweater and then there's the Jarrah sweater curve, which goes up to a size 30, which is great. So a nice inclusive size range there. I'm going to start clipping together the shoulders of this sweater while I talk to you about what I'm wearing today. So the fabric I'm using actually for the sweatshirt today is this beautiful fleece-backed French terry from First for Fabrics in this gorgeous baby pink colour. I thought that would just be really nice for a cozy sweater. So I've got the front and the back pieces here and I'm just going to clip those together and talk about what I'm wearing today, which is one of my favourite cardigans actually, but I do wear it more like a sweater. I don't ever wear this one open. I love it buttoned up, and it is the Jennifer Lauren Handmade Juniper cardigan. Now I know this is about cozy sweaters, but I think cardigans get included in that too, and I do love a cozy cardigan as well. Now this is a saddle shoulder cardigan. Hopefully you can see these lines here. And it's just such a lovely insertion and I really like the shape of those shoulders on me. I don't know why I haven't made more of this cardigan actually, because I wear it all the time. I made it in a beautiful, it's called a Victoria knit fabric, and it came from Minerva originally, but you can't seem to get it anymore. It would work really well in any sort of light knit fabric. She did design it for merino wool fabrics, but I'm sure you could make it in sort of a light ponte, something that has a little bit of structure to it but is quite light. So it's perfect for this sort of autumnal weather we're having. I do wear it in the winter as well, but I would layer up perhaps with a long sleeve top underneath just for added warmth. It comes in 2 different lengths. I've made the cropped version because I love wearing this over my dresses and my skirts, but I haven't yet made the long line version. There is a long line version of this, which she has made in 2 different contrasting colours on her website, which I think looks great. So if you're somebody that likes colour blocking, because of the saddle shoulders here, this pattern would be great for colour blocking. I really do love the button band here, but it is very narrow, so I have had to use quite small, delicate buttons to go on that button band. But beautiful instructions, beautiful pattern. It came together so nicely, and I don't know why I haven't made more of these because it's definitely a staple year-round wardrobe actually. I wear it all year long. I I love it. I'm just sad Minerva stopped making this fabric because I would have bought it in any colour that they had, I think, because it's just fantastic. It's worn really well as well. I have washed this cardigan so many times and it hasn't pilled or anything. Right, so I am just clipping these shoulders together, and I have yet to put pink thread on my overlocker and on my machine, so that'll be the next step. I've got some sort of dusky pink overlocker thread, which I think will be fine. That's all clipped. I'm gonna go and sew that together, and then I'll come back for the next step and for another jumper recommendation. Okay, so before I share this next sweater with you, I'm just going to share a little tip that I've learnt about sewing neckbands and cuffs and things. If you don't want to have that seam, you know when you sew the neckband together and then you get that bulky sort of seam at the back? So this is a trick that I saw on Instagram, and I'll link the account below if I can find it again. But what you do is you take your neckband or your cuffs and you fold them together just like you normally would, but instead of sewing straight down, you fold them again in half like you would for the finished neckband, because obviously that gets folded in half before you insert it around the neck, and then you sew it together. Just serge that small seam there or sew it on your machine with a zigzag stitch if that's your preference. So I'm going to do that now. So you can see I've just serged this edge here, and then you turn it, so you just turn it here and fold it in half. I'm going to obviously go and press this at the iron, and there you have a neckband. And then at the back you've just got one lovely flat seam, and you don't have to do that funny thing. Sometimes I'll cut them so they'll lie flat, or I just have a bulky seam, but this is lovely, smooth and flat. So I'm going to go press that. And then whilst I'm pinning that onto the neckband, I'll talk about this sweater here. Okay, so I am pinning the neckband into place. I always like to pin the 4 quarter points first. This pattern is lovely. It's got lots of notches and things that make that easy to put the neckband on to those 4 quarter points, and then I'll just stretch it gently into place before sewing it up at the machine. Now the sweater I'm wearing whilst I pin this into place, we can chat about that. This is another favourite sweater, and I really love this one, particularly in the spring and in the autumn, especially in the fabric that I chose, which is a slightly lighter weight French terry type material. It's not fleecy on the inside, so it really is just an extra sort of warm layer before I put on a sort of a coat or a jacket in the autumn months. But I really love the shape of it. I love this curved neckline here. I really like the way the sleeves are set in, and it's got sort of a lovely fitted sleeve, and it is a cropped length. Now the jumper is called, or the sweater is called, the Ondee sweater, and it's by Deer and Doe. Now you can see it comes as this really lovely little cropped sweater here, or it comes as this really sweet sort of t-shirt top with a lovely collar. They are both for jersey fabric, but I have seen this one sewn up with a lovely sort of woven collar on the top, and I almost wonder about this one, if you could add a woven skirt to the bottom of it, that would look really, really lovely for sort of a wintry autumnal dress. Now I made this in, I think it's a Mind the Maker jersey, and I had this left over from another project, so it was really nice to get to use that up and to make a jumper out of it, and I do wear it all the time. Again, I wear it over dresses, I wear it with skirts. The only thing I would say is it does come up very, very cropped, so I think when I make it again, and I will make it again, I think I will probably lengthen it by just an inch or even half an inch, just to get it sit a little bit more nicely over the tops of my skirts. So that's the only thing I'd say about this one, but it was a really lovely pattern to sew up. Very quick, very good instructions. I really love Deer and Doe patterns. In fact, I actually have some of this pink sweatshirting left over, and I'm almost tempted to make another Ondee sweater in this pink jersey. I think I'd probably get a lot of wear of that over the winter months, just in that slightly warmer fabric. Right, now I've put the neckband on. I am going to go to my machine, sew that into place, and then we'll talk about my third favourite sweater for the autumn. Right, let's go give that a press and see how it turned out. So we have a lovely flat neckband. I mean, it always looks slightly puckered before you iron it and top stitch it, but I'm really happy with that. I've popped in a gorgeous little label from Molly. I bought her Sweet Legs fabric earlier this summer, and she sent that label with it, which is so sweet of her. So I've popped that in the jumper because I think it goes quite well with that colour. Next step is to pop the sleeves in. It's a very quick sew, this one. All I've got left is sleeves, cuffs and a hem, but I know that hems take a while to press and put into place, so the see how that goes. It does say in the instructions to do the sleeves before you do the neckband, but I always find that I prefer to put in neckbands when I've got slightly less fabric jumping around under the machine, so I've chosen to do it that way around. I'm going to set the sleeves in now, you set them in the flat, and then sew up the side seams. That's what I'm going to do while I chat to you about this, which is I can't think if it's my third or my fourth sweater. Depends if you count this one as number one or not. But anyway, so this one that I'm wearing now is the Mile End Sweatshirt, and that's by Closet Core Patterns. Now, this is one I wasn't sure if it would suit my style, because drop shoulders don't usually suit me that well. But I do wear this one an awful lot, especially during the week if I'm just going out on the bike to pick up my children and I just want an extra warm layer. It goes really nicely over leggings, but it is quite cropped, so hence wanting to make myself a slightly longer jumper. Here is the pattern here. I have bought this one as a paper pattern, so I've traced out the pieces for this one. You can see the two other versions here on the cover. There's this one with the kangaroo pocket and almost like a crossover front. I can't say that I'll be rushing to make that one anytime soon. I don't really love the look of this crossover front. I do really like this version with the tie at the bottom of the front here. I think that looks really, really cool, and I like the way that that would cinch it in because it is a very oversized boxy fit sweatshirt. So I do like the way that that would cinch it in down the bottom. And then version view A, which is the one that I've made, is just the simple crew neck sweatshirt. So very similar to this view here, but without this tie across the bottom. And why I really like this pattern is because of the really interesting style lines on the pattern. And I had two leftover remnants of this blue and this sort of burgundy coloured sweatshirting from Mind the Maker. I will link all the patterns and fabrics below, by the way, just in case you want to go and find them. But I had remnants of this left over from making one of my other favourite sweatshirt patterns, which is the Hug hoodie. Now sadly that is no longer available as a pattern, which is why I haven't included it in this video, because otherwise that would be right up there on my list. I wear my Hug hoodies all the time. So I had scraps left over from making those and I wanted to use them up. I decided to colour block this sweatshirt, and I have to say Made by Cathcraft, who is also here on YouTube, was a massive inspiration. I saw her make this sweatshirt and colour block it and I thought that's what I want to try. So I got the pattern, I made it, and I love it. I really like the way that the burgundy and the blue go together. You can see across the back I've got the blue that goes over the shoulder, and then the burgundy forms the bulk of the back and the blue here, and then at the bottom you can see that the burgundy sort of wraps around to the front here with this line. So I really, really love it, and I had enough ribbing left over that I could use up the ribbing as well, which was fantastic. Now this has a great size range. Closet Core Patterns do come in their full size range, so it's very inclusive. It is an oversized fit though. Let me just have a look. I do think I sized down at least one. Yes, so I have again a 35-inch bust, which puts me in a size 8. And I did size down, I believe, to a size 6. Now the only thing I would say about that is the sleeves have then come up a little short. I mean, they're fine, but I think if I were to make this one again, I would extend these sleeves probably by almost 2 inches just to really be able to be all snuggly and cozy. And again, this is quite a cropped fit. Now it works perfectly for me over my high-waisted leggings and jeans and things in the winter, but if you would like a little bit more coverage, you may want to lengthen it by 1 inch as well. That's the Mile End sweater. Can highly recommend that pattern. It was another really lovely sew. It does have quite a lot of top stitching, so I did think this was one of the projects where I first tried Mariflex thread, and that's the stretchy thread that you can use to sew just a straight stitch on your machine instead of having to use a zigzag. Because the thread is slightly stretchy, you can just sew using a straight stitch and it stretches with the fabric, which is amazing. I just love the finish that that gives a garment. And because this has lots and lots of lines of top stitching, I don't think I put in the top stitching here on the sleeve, but you can. I put in the top stitching here and on these side panels here, and I did use the Mariflex thread for that to just give it a really nice sharp looking finish rather than using a zigzag stitch. Yes, can definitely recommend Mariflex thread as well. I am using it on this project today as well, just for sewing the neckline, and then if I need to do any top stitching on the hem, I'll use it on the hem as well, just so you can get a straight stitch. Right, I have clipped those sleeves into place. I'm going to go and pop them in on the overlocker, and then we're almost ready to do side seams and a cuff and a hem. Okay, so I have had some lunch, I've had a coffee, I've prepped the dinner, and now I'm ready to get back into finishing up my jumper and finishing off telling you about the last of my 5 favourite cozy sweater patterns. So I have almost got a finished jumper, so you'll see I've sewn up the side seams here, and I have done the hem as well actually. The curved hem on the bottom, you'll see it's longer at the back than at the front, which I really like. It was a wee bit tricky to get around the curve on the sides here, but I think I've done okay with that. I don't do a twin needle, I just use a Miraflex thread and go around twice. I am thinking about a cover stitch machine, so if any of you have got one and you would recommend one, do let me know in the comments below. I can't decide whether it's something I'd use a lot or not a lot. I do sew quite a lot of jersey for my children and for myself from time to time, so I was wondering whether it's worth the investment or not. Do let me know in the comments below. And the last thing to do is to put on these cuffs, and I have made the cuffs. Again, I used my cheeky trick from before just to avoid a bulky seam. I do really like the way that that sits flat against your wrist, and so I've got those corded and ready to go in. So I'm just going to pin that together while I tell you about this jumper. Now this, my 5th jumper pattern that I've shared in today's video. I am using the words jumper, sweater and cardigan interchangeably for just a cozy warm layer, by the way. This is the Billie sweater, and it's by Tilly and the Buttons. Now it comes as a sweater and as a sweater dress. Now I have made the sweater dress a couple of times. I do wear my one that I've made. I made it in a really lovely fleecy black jersey, which I absolutely love. It's so cozy and warm, but it is one of those dresses that I kind of put on and I'm having one of those days where I just want to be cozy and comfy and wear secret pajamas. So it is a pattern that I enjoy, but not one that I'm probably racing to make up in a hurry again. I do prefer a more sort of fitted woven dress than a sweater dress. The jumper is one that I really, really like. Now this is made in an Atelier Brunette French terry, and it's a surprisingly warm French terry. It's brushed on the inside, so although it's relatively thin, it is really warm. And again, in the winter I just tend to layer it up with an extra long sleeve layer underneath, and that's plenty warm enough, especially when you're coming in and out of warm houses. Now I made this one with the fitted sleeves, and I actually graded from a 2 across the bust to a 3 at the waist and a 4 at the hips, which fits me really, really nicely. I really like the fit of this jumper. It's a more fitted sweatshirt, which I like. It just stops at sort of my high hips, which is perfect for wearing over jeans on a more cozy wintry day. I did buy the matching ribbing to go with this sweater fabric because I just wanted to make sure that it was the right navy, which sounds strange, but there are so many different navies really, and I love the way that the cuffing blends in really nicely with the fabric. I've made another version in this knit fabric from By Graziella, which I also love. I bought this in a remnants bin and I only had a metre of it. Now if it wasn't directional, I think that would have been absolutely fine for the size that I was making, but because it's directional, I did cut out the sleeves in 2 pieces, which you can sort of see the join here where the leaves change, and that's fine though. I sort of made a feature of it. I made sure to cut the sleeve in 2 parts, adding that extra seam allowance in so that they weren't too short. And I added a little bit onto the cuff as well just to make sure it was definitely long enough, and I really love that one too. It's such a lovely warm snuggly fabric, and I love those leaves with the hearts on them. I think they're a really lovely pattern, so that's another jumper that I reach for a lot. I like this one because it doesn't have a drop sleeve. I don't love a drop sleeve, she says, making a drop sleeve jumper pattern, but so I do really like this sleeve, this satin sleeve style on me. I think it's really flattering, and I like where these sit. It finishes nice and high up on my shoulder. The sleeves sit in really nicely, and it's a lovely snuggly one to wear. Now the Billie jumper does come in Tilly and the Buttons full size range, so that's great. And yeah, it's nice to have 2 different versions in a sweater and a sweater dress. The sweater dress does have pockets too, but I haven't made that version because I'm just a bit worried that putting pockets in a sweater dress might accentuate the parts that I don't really want to accentuate, but it is a lovely sweater dress pattern as well. Just finishing pinning in this sleeve cuff. It's going in quite nicely, and this is the last step. I do quite like hemming the sweatshirt and then putting in the cuffs as the last thing, because then it's sort of a nice way to end the sewing process. So I'm going to pop those cuffs in, pop the jumper on, and I'll be back to show you my finished Jarrah sweater. So that's it for my video this week. I hope you enjoyed seeing my 5 cozy sweaters. What do I think of this one? My finished Jarrah sweater. Well, I think the jury's out a little bit. I am not entirely happy with this neckline, but it could just need a good press. I'm not sure. And it does just feel like a lot of pink. So I have been thinking about whether or not I might embroider something on the front here. I have a couple of embroidery patterns with just some lovely little flowers that I could put across the front, just perhaps in a slightly darker pink than this baby pink, just for something different on the front of it. I haven't made my mind up yet because I do really like it as just a nice cozy layer for the autumn. I think I will wear it quite a lot. I'm so glad I lengthened these sleeves. I didn't need to. They would have finished nicely on my wrist here if I hadn't lengthened them by that inch, but I really like being able to be all snuggly and cozy with my hot coffee and my nice long sleeves. And I'm also really glad I lengthened it as it just covers my back and my bottom really nicely for when I'm wearing leggings like I am just now, ready for the school run on the bike in the rain. So I'm really glad that I did make this jumper. Definitely going to try making it again sometime, and I hope you enjoyed seeing it come together as I shared my other favourite cozy sweaters for the autumn. Now, if you want some coat recommendations for the autumn and the winter, do head over to my lovely friend Amelia Alonso's channel today, where she is sharing 5 coat patterns for your autumn and winter sewing. Amelia has such beautiful coats in her collection. I always look at her coats and think, I need to make one of those. So do head over to her channel and have a look at her 5 favourite coat patterns for the autumn and the winter. Thanks again for watching. I'm going to go and cozy up and finish my coffee before I go on the school run, and I shall see you very soon in my next video. Goodbye.